This week in AI, whoa. Talk about a wild ride. Feels like we've been strapped to a rocket, no buckles, just blasting off into the unknown. Billion-dollar deals flying around, people jumping ship left and right, and ethical quandaries that can make your head spin.
And buckle up, because this is just the warm-up act. AI is evolving faster than faster than anything we've ever seen.
Let's jump right into the belly of the beast, shall we? OpenAI, the geniuses behind ChatGPT, they've been making headlines. Rumors swirling about a possible leadership shuffle and their CEO, Sam Altman, potentially walking away with a hefty chunk of change. We're talking billions with a B.
Now, why would investors be lining up to hand over essentially a small nation's GDP to one person? Control. Stability. In a field like AI that's evolving at warp speed, having a steady hand on the wheel, that's gold for investors.
Makes sense. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? This news comes right as some big names are heading for the exits at OpenAI. We're talking key players like Mira Murati, their CTO, and a whole bunch of their top developers.
Yeah, the timing here is definitely raising some eyebrows. Makes you wonder if these departures are tied to whispers of OpenAI maybe shifting away from their nonprofit roots. I mean, could there be some fundamental disagreements about where the ship is headed?
Especially when you look at how many people have walked out recently. OpenAI's leadership starting to look a bit like a sparsely attended picnic, let's say.
And it's not just OpenAI. We're seeing this across the board. Top AI talent are saying, see you later to the big players and setting off on their own. Classic case of if you can't join them, beat them.
So instead of playing it safe in the corporate sandbox, these AI brainiacs are chasing those startup dreams.
Exactly. It's the allure of autonomy, right? The freedom to explore their own research rabbit holes without the corporate overlords looking over their shoulders. And of course, the chance to hit it big in a field that feels like it has unlimited possibilities.
Speaking of hitting it big, let's talk about Sam Altman's latest blog post, where he lays out his vision for the future of AI, and, well, it's a doozy.
Altman's putting his money on deep learning, the tech that's fueling the current AI explosion, and he firmly believes it's going to change the world as we know it.
And he's not talking about slightly smarter toasters or self-folding laundry here. Altman's talking about tackling the really big problems like curing diseases and potentially, get this, achieving superintelligence.
And that's where things get, well, really, really interesting. Because Altman predicts this superintelligence revolution could be just a few thousand days away. Now, to put that in perspective, we're talking maybe 5 to 15 years.
Hold on, 5 to 15 years. I wasn't planning on adding superintelligence to my bingo card for a few more decades. Feels like we're going from zero to singularity before we even had a chance to blink.
It's a shockingly short timeline, right? And it just highlights how quickly the AI conversation has shifted. I mean, even a couple of years ago, this was the stuff of sci-fi novels. Now it's becoming, dare I say, mainstream.
I was actually chatting with a scientist recently who believes AI could hold the key to curing diseases like cancer. No, it's mind-blowing, really.
The possibilities in healthcare are massive. Imagine AI digging through mountains of medical data, spotting patterns, and tailoring treatments based on your unique genetic makeup. We're talking about a revolution in medicine as we know it.
And Altman seems to think these breakthroughs are right around the corner. But it's not just superintelligence that has him excited. He's also gung-ho about nuclear fusion, gene editing, the whole shebang. Basically, he seems to think we're on the cusp of a technological renaissance, the likes of which the world has never seen.
And what's fascinating is that Altman's actually shortened his timeline for superintelligence from what he predicted before. It really speaks to how quickly things are progressing, even faster than the experts expected.
It's like watching a rocket launch. You know it's going to be fast, but the sheer acceleration still takes your breath away. It's exciting, for sure. But it's also like, are we even thinking about the brakes on this rocket? Which brings us to the, let's call it the flip side of the AI coin, regulation.
And that's a perfect segue to the recent veto of California's SB 2047. That was a bill aiming to put some stricter rules in place for AI development.
And this bill had some serious weight behind it, right? I mean, tech ethicist, Elon Musk, they were all raising red flags. What was it about this bill that got everyone so fired up?
Well, SB 147 was interesting because it was trying to get ahead of the game, put some guardrails up before we find ourselves in a full-blown AI apocalypse. One of the things it proposed was tougher safety testing for AI systems and more transparency about how these systems are actually made.
Sounds pretty reasonable when you've got AI evolving faster than, well, something that evolves incredibly fast. So why did it get the axe?
Well, it turns out not everyone was keen on the idea of tighter regulations, especially big tech. There was some pretty intense lobbying against the bill. Their argument: it would stifle innovation and slow down progress on potentially life-changing AI.
It's that whole move fast and break things mentality, right?
Hmm.
But with AI, the things that could break, those are kind of a big deal.
Exactly. It's that classic dilemma, progress versus caution. On one hand, you don't want to squash innovation, but on the other, you don't want to wait for a disaster to happen before putting some safety measures in place.
Speaking of potential risks, this veto happened right around the same time. Meta, Facebook's cooler, older sibling, decided to release a bunch of their AI models as open source. Can you break that down for us? What does that even mean, and why should we care?
Sure. So open source AI, basically it's like making the secret recipe for your grandma's famous cookies public. Anyone can take that recipe, tweak it, maybe even use it to create a whole new kind of cookie.
Okay, sounds delicious and great for sharing, but I'm already sensing a but coming on.
You got it. Open source AI has this amazing potential to democratize access to powerful tools and really speed up innovation. But, and it's a big but, it also raises some red flags about how these tools might be used, especially if they end up in the wrong hands. If anyone can get their hands on the code for an AI model and start messing around with it, controlling how that model is used becomes a whole lot harder.
It's like giving everyone a driver's license, but no one needs to take a driving test. Yeah, that's not going to end well.
And to make matters even more complicated, this release of powerful AI tools, without any real rules, it throws a wrench into the whole regulation debate. I mean, if companies like Meta are just putting their AI tools out there for anyone to use, how do you even begin to regulate something like that?
It's like trying to herd cats, but the cats are made of code, and they're multiplying faster than you can say algorithm.
It's a question that has policymakers, ethicists, even the AI developers themselves scratching their heads.
It's clear that AI has the potential to completely revolutionize, well, pretty much everything. How we work, how we interact with the world, you name it. But it's also clear that this tech comes with a whole set of challenges and risks that we're just starting to wrap our heads around.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest hurdles we face is figuring out how to use these incredibly powerful tools responsibly. I mean, how do we make sure they're used for the benefit of everyone, not just a select few?
So while we're busy being amazed by AI writing poetry and composing symphonies, we also need to take a step back and think about the bigger picture. What are the potential downsides, and how do we address them without, putting a straitjacket on innovation?
It's a tough balancing act, no doubt. And it's going to require some serious collaboration between governments, tech companies, researchers, and, the rest of us.
So where do we go from here? Let's look at some real-world examples of how this technology is already playing out. And let's kick things off with a fascinating case from down under. Apparently, there's an AI tool that helped Australian police crack a decades-old cold case, and get this, in a matter of hours. What's the story there?
Oh, this one's a great example of how AI can shake things up, and not just in the creative realm. So they fed this AI 81 years worth of police records, witness statements, all sorts of data.
81 years? Did they have to dust off some old floppy disks for that?
Thankfully, technology's come a long way since then. But the point is, this AI sifted through a truly mind-boggling amount of information and made connections that human investigators had missed, some for their entire careers. It's a powerful example of how AI can be like this amplifier for human intelligence, helping us tackle problems that have stumped us for generations.
Makes you wonder how many other mysteries are just waiting for the right AI to come along and crack the code.
It's an exciting thought, but it also highlights the whole responsibility thing again. I mean, in the wrong hands, this kind of AI could be used for some pretty shady stuff. Think about it identifying and targeting people based on huge data sets of personal information. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, it's not hard to imagine a future where AI is used for mass surveillance and not the good kind. But let's focus on the positive for a sec. This Australian case, it shows how AI can be a force for good, helping to bring justice and closure to people who've been waiting for it.
Absolutely. And this is just one example. We're just scratching the surface of what AI can do.
And speaking of scratching the surface, I gotta ask you about Google's Notebook LM. That AI tool that lets you upload documents and then boom, it spits out summaries and insights. I've been playing around with it and it's already pretty mind-blowing, but it sounds like Google's been busy adding some serious firepower to it.
They haven't been slacking, that's for sure. The latest update is a game changer. Now, you can upload not just documents, but audio and video too. We're talking Lectures, meetings, even movies. You feed it to the AI, and it can analyze, summarize, pull out key themes, the whole 9 yards.
Wait, so you're saying I could upload this entire conversation, all our rambling and tangents included, and this AI could spit out a perfectly coherent, insightful summary that's both amazing and slightly terrifying.
It's powerful stuff, that's for sure. And like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or, let's just say, not so good.
I can already see students using this to dodge doing their homework, or people creating fake news articles that sound like they were written by, actual journalists.
Those are definitely valid concerns. But let's not lose sight of the potential upsides here. Imagine using this tool to catch up on lectures you missed, or to quickly analyze hours of meeting recordings. Or how about getting a handle on a complex research topic without having to wade through a mountain of dense academic papers?
It's like having a personal AI assistant that can absorb and process information at, warp speed. Talk about a productivity hack. But, like you said, it all boils down to how it's used.
Exactly. And that brings us right back to the importance of ethics and responsible development. We need to be having these conversations now before these technologies get so advanced that we don't have a hope of steering them in the right direction.
It's like we're standing on the edge of, the Wild West of tech. A whole lot of opportunity out there, for sure, but also the rule book's still being written,
Yeah. And it's up to us to make sure that rule book, it's got ethics baked right in, and we got to be thinking about the consequences, the what-ifs, the whole 9 yards.
Because, as they say, with great power comes great something or other, and this AI thing, this is about as powerful as it gets.
Speaking of power, let's shift gears for a second. Remember those deepfake videos we've all seen popping up? The ones that used to be good for a laugh? Well, they've leveled up. We're talking legitimate security threat now.
Oh, yeah, like that American senator who got caught up in that whole deepfake video call mess. Wasn't it someone pretending to be a Ukrainian diplomat or something?
That's the one. And what's really unsettling is that this senator, he actually knew the real diplomat. They'd met face-to-face before. But this deepfake, it was so good, it totally fooled him.
So we're not talking about some harmless prank here. This was someone using technology to deliberately deceive someone in a position of power. And we're talking tech that can basically recreate anyone's face and voice, right?
Precisely. And that's what makes it so dangerous. We're talking disinformation campaigns, political manipulation, even espionage. And it's only going to get harder to separate facts from fiction as this technology gets more sophisticated.
It's like they say, the most believable lies, they have a little bit of truth sprinkled in. And when you can create videos that are basically indistinguishable from reality, well, that line between truth and lies, it gets blurry real fast.
And that has huge implications for all of us.
Right.
I mean, how do we trust what we see, what we hear, when anyone with the right tech can basically rewrite reality?
It's like we're on the verge of this whole new era of information warfare, except the battleground is our minds, right? And the weapons are like pixels and algorithms.
It's a scary thought, but it's something we need to be talking about. It's part of this new reality we're all navigating.
So where do we even go from here? How do we harness this incredible power of AI, but, without shooting ourselves in the foot?
The million-dollar question, right? It's going to take a village, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Governments need to set some ground rules, some ethical guidelines. Tech companies, they have a responsibility here too. And us, well, we need to be savvy. We need to be critical thinkers.
You need to develop a healthy sense of skepticism, learn how to spot the fakes, and have some real conversations about this stuff. This isn't just some abstract tech talk. It affects all of us.
Absolutely, because AI, at the end of the day, it's a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or, well, not so good. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
Well said. This whole conversation has been a whirlwind, that's for sure. Mind-blowing breakthroughs 1 minute, ethical dilemmas that could make your head spin the next.
It's a lot to digest, for sure.
Yeah.
But staying informed, staying engaged, that's the first step.
So to everyone listening, as you go about your week, take a moment to notice how AI is already woven into your life. The recommendations you see online, those voice assistants we're all talking to, even the way your newsfeed is curated. These are all signs, subtle but important, that the AI revolution, it's not coming, it's already here.
And as you encounter these AI-powered experiences, ask yourself, what are the potential benefits? What are the risks? Are we doing enough to make sure this technology is being used for good? Are we building a future where tech empowers us, not the other way around?
That's the question we should all be asking ourselves, and not just today. This isn't just about the latest gadget or the newest app. This is about shaping the future, the world we're leaving behind for, for our kids and grandkids.
And that's a responsibility we all share.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI. It's a wild ride, but hey, who doesn't love a good roller coaster? Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.